Hi, my name is Clésia Mendes, and welcome to Womanhood from the Inside Out. In this interview series, we'll be discovering and uncovering the nature of womanhood from the inside out. Why is it important? When does it show? How can we identify it? And what are the implications of womanhood from the inside out? And today's guest is my dear friend, Jill Whalen. Jill helps small business owners, groups, and organizations uncover their natural well being and happiness so they can operate from a clear state of mind. This, in turn, has the ability to take their lives and business to a higher level. Jill is a faculty member of Happy School and of the three Principles Supermind, and her blog, What Did You Do to Jill? Oh, actually, What Did You Do with Jill? Is a personal account of what she learned through her personal transformation journey. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much.
Ah, I was I was about to use the word excited, but I recognize probably I use it too much, which I don't mind really. But I was really glad when you sent me a private message and say, I would love to be on your show. So here we are today. And I would like to start from the beginning. Could you please give us a little bit of a background? How did you how was your life before you came across this understanding? What I call the principles behind womanhood from the inside out.
Sure. I'd love to. It's funny when you talk about, that when I contacted you about doing a interview, I had originally seen you put up a post about you looking for career woman, and I thought, that doesn't sound like me. I don't. So I didn't contact you because I've never thought of myself as a career woman, even though I had my own business for 18 years, but that term just never fit me. And I mean, I can explain that a little bit, sort of ties into what you're asking about, before my inside out understanding. Basically, I was a mom at home. That's all I ever wanted to be growing up, was just have kids. I had no thoughts of what kind of career I'd want to be. And, back in the 60s, when I was really young, the only choices for women, it seemed, where you could be a nurse or a teacher. And I'm like, neither of those sound good to me. But I wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be a mom. So I did have that goal in mind. And, so that's basically what I did. I went to college to find a suitable husband and did that. But when my kids were little, we did get a computer. My husband decided to go to law school, and we needed to get a computer for that, even though this was in the 90s, early 90s, when people really didn't have computers. And he also had to get a modem to get online, and which was also really rare. And so I started just playing online and made a parenting website and had a parenting chat room, and then wanted to learn how to get that found, so more people would see it and stuff.
Mhm.
And really started just naturally learning about how to do internet marketing stuff, website marketing, before there was really any information out there about it. This is, mid 90s. And that just became a business for me, that I fell into, but still feeling like a woman, a mother at home, which I was, and never thinking, a career woman. But over time, it really grew into a big business. Not big, because it was mostly me, but I was asked to speak at conferences, and I traveled all over the world when my kids were a little bit older, and it was great. I mean, I was a pioneer in the SEO industry, and it was my passion. I just loved it. I just understood it and knew how to do it. But at some point I think it was around 2013, after being in business for 17 or 18 years, I decided I really needed to lose weight. I had let myself go. I was drinking too much. I was just not healthy, not eating healthy, and I had been thinking about I needed to lose weight for a while, but I was never the type that went on diets. I had been thin most of my life, and I said, finally I decided to do it. I saw other people were doing it and, having success. And I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Mhm.
So I used, for me, it was high tech stuff. I had a fit Fitbit and my Fitness Pal app and stuff. So that made it funner for me because I was a techie kind of person.
Right.
And I lost weight fairly easily, just by counting calories, and lost the 25 pounds that I wanted to lose, within 6 months or so. But it changed me, that like eating healthy and exercising and I started running, and I had been doing yoga previously, but I really got into doing it more often because now I could see I was getting stronger and stuff. And so something just changed. And I suddenly didn't enjoy my other work as much anymore, which was really weird because I loved it so much. And it was such a passion. And I was making tons of money. I had tons of clients. It wasn't like anything was wrong with the business. But I just got to this point where I didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reason. And, one day I had my newsletter that I had 25,000 subscribers. I wrote in it every other week, just free information on how to do SEO stuff. And I just couldn't write it. I was like, I just can't do this again. I've written everything that there is to say about SEO. There's nothing left. I'm done. And I really felt I was done. And it was like, it was an inner like calling inside of me saying, you did this, you're done. You have said everything there is to say. There's nothing more to say. And pretty much within the next few weeks, I just decided to stop my business altogether. And it was weird. There was people were just shocked because it wasn't something I had been talking about, thinking about, or anything. And that was it. So I stopped. I basically just put out a memo online to everyone, I'm out of the business, and everyone of course was shocked. And but it was great for me. I just then started doing more, hikes in the woods and cooking healthy foods and doing what I wanted to do. But I started getting more into spirituality stuff too, which I had dabbled in a little bit in the past. But when I stumbled upon Michael Neal, who has, as so many of us have, on the Hay House radio, and when I heard him talking, I was like, oh my God, this guy is a genius. I didn't know what he was talking about, but it just totally resonated. I just knew what he was saying was real. And I listened, I signed up for his newsletter, and then he sent like a free video with that, a link to some talk he did. And I listened to it like over and over again, trying to get it. And I'm like, I kind of get it. He's talking about, thoughts are creating our feelings, and okay, that makes sense, but like, so what, And I sent it to my husband, and I'm like, this guy's like amazing, and maybe you'll understand it. You're smarter than me. And he's like, well, he's just saying thoughts create your feelings. I'm like, I know, but what does it mean? And it just really spiraled from there. I started listening to more things, and suddenly got it. I listened to something from Jenny and Rudy Kennard at 3 Principles Movies, and Jenny said something about the same thing: thoughts create our feelings or our reality. And I was like, I get it. It just totally clicked. And then from there, I mean, it changed my life in so many other ways. Anxiety. I've had all kinds of epiphanies and things. We can talk about it as well, but that's the basic backstory.
And beautiful, Jill. That is amazing. Because naturally, what I did when you got in touch is that I first of all I like to schedule a Skype call, because the most important thing for me, is to feel the connection with my potential guest, and we hit it off. I felt such a wonderful feeling when we got on the phone. I was after. I felt it almost straight away, but as you carry on telling your story, I got falling more and more into it, and I say, okay, that's more than enough. So when can we talk? When can we record it? And you said so many things that kind of highlighted, so many peaks. For example, that even though you didn't consider yourself a career woman because you wanted to be a mom back in your, I feel weird to say back in your time because it's not exactly that, but I guess then the perspective you had is that you had the possibility of becoming a nurse or becoming a teacher, and that wasn't something that you wanted, but you wanted to become a mom. So you can, it appears to me that you started following your curiosity. So you started the parenting website, and you kept you were following your curiosity. And would it be fair to say that you were having fun with your business and learning and being a pioneer? Or
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was never, that's why I say I was not a career woman. It was never work. I would even tell my kids, I just get to play online every day because I loved computers, and even before I started that business, and I loved being online when when the internet came, and I loved having, that's why I wanted to have kids, because I could play all day. um, and that's it's all that's what it's always been. It's always been for me, and I think that was why I stopped doing it, because it just got to that point where, wait a minute, this isn't fun anymore. And not every single thing I ever did in my business was fun, but for the most part, 80%, was. So yeah, I never, that's why I didn't consider it work. And that's why I believe I was so successful as well, because clients could sense that as well. Like, I didn't care if I got the business. I didn't care from my perspective, and I tell this to people now who are trying to get clients. If they wanted to hire me, then I knew I could help them, and I could change at that point their their websites would get more business themselves from their websites if they hired me. If they didn't, it was their loss. I knew that, and I just knew it. And so that came across when I would talk to them on the phone or whatever, and I'd be like, yeah, I can help you. I would listen, make sure, if it seemed like a good fit, yeah, I can help you. And if not, I would say, I don't think I'm the right person. And it was funny too, because when you do that, they want you even more.
yes, yes. That's very interesting because they get that feel that you feeling you've got naturally a lot of grounding in what you're doing, and you believe in that enough to say, well, this is what I do, and I do a stellar job. If you want to work with me and we are a good fit, great. But if not, it's your loss. And sometimes in several industries, there are the people who pretend, who don't care, and we care deeply about our clients. But it's coming from the places like, hey, if you want to work together, will be fun as long as we are a good fit. If not, there is plenty of abundance. Go and help work with someone else. We're fine with that also.
It's so true, and you can't fake that. That's what people use that as a thing, like you said, and it's not. It's all about authenticity, and it's real, and it's kind of a shame that people don't have that confidence a lot of times in their abilities, for their work, or to make that come across. Like, they kind of know they can help people, but they just, I don't know, people learn too many fake things, how to do this, how to do that, when you don't need to know anything but how to just be your damn self.
Yes. Yes. And that is exactly why we are exploring womanhood from the inside out in this show. Is what is being a woman in current times, and what is womanhood from the inside out. And one of the things that I pick up straight away is that you feel comfortable being yourself, and you follow your curiosity, whatever is play for you. And when you feel you had enough, you just move on to the next thing, and that's it. You drop a profitable business. You were having enough fun. 25,000 subscribers now. I hope you don't mind, but I did Google you, and I found out that you were in very well established publications. I believe it was one of them was the Times, or
I mean, I was quoted in lots of the Wall Street Journal, I don't know if maybe the Time. I mean, tons of things over the years.
yeah. So
I used to get calls from reporters all the time.
So I've got a star over here. Woo-hoo.
I guess I never felt like a star. I mean, when I would go to conferences and speak, I felt like a star a little bit, because people would come up to me. But then I'd go home and I was just, Timmy's mom. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun, to be that that have your 10 minutes of fame or whatever. But it,
Yeah.
it's just a small little world. My little famous world was a small world.
Yes. And I resonate with that a lot. I love that. Is that I can do the I fancy really, show up on television, do a radio show and so on. And when I come home, I'm Clésia. Well, I don't have a family currently. I mean, a husband and kids. But for my sisters, I'm just their sis, and that's cool.
Right.
And to my mom, I'm her oldest daughter, and I'm completely okay with that. And it's almost getting in and out of suits or wardrobes, right? That is not what I am. That is one of the many aspects of the way I express myself in life. But none of them are labels. I'm just putting different outfits. If I'm on television, if I'm on radio, I'm a certain person, or I express one side of myself. When I'm at home, I express one side of myself. Even within my family with different people, I express different aspects of myself. So it's always a self expression side of things and being authentic. And I'm discovering more and more about that.
Right. And I think that's where some people can get into trouble, like famous people, because they do start to buy into that famous image,
Hmm.
and you can get carried away where you start to think that's who you are. Oh, I am more important than other people, and that's why there's so much. You always see so much problems in the famous people world. But that's got to be hard if everybody,
Mm,
you can't go out anywhere and people know you, and
yes,
it's easy to
yes.
buy into that.
There is a certain degree of being in touch, out of touch with reality, isn't it? Reality as we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Womanhood from the inside out. So I guess a few people would be interested about your weight loss, and I appreciate that the weight loss happened before you came across this understanding. And you told me that it was very easy for you. Do you have any special tips? I know, yeah.
Yes.
What was your experience? What have you noticed?
Yeah, I mean the initial weight loss itself was fairly easy because I hadn't done it a lot. As I understand it from the information I've learned, if you've counted calories off and on and you lose weight and then gain a lot back, like so many women, especially like my age in their 50s,
Mm,
it becomes hard. You wreck your like adrenal glands or something from all that up and down weight stuff, and it becomes harder for people to lose weight. Because I hadn't done that, it worked for me. But if I were to do it over again, I probably would try more just giving up carbs and stuff, which is what I do now. I do eat carbs and stuff, but just not as much. So to maintain my weight now, um, which I have. I mean, I've probably gained some back, but a lot of it is more muscle mass because I
mm,
do more activities. Um, but I a lot of it is my inside out understanding really helps. Like for things like cravings or whatever, I know they're just thoughts, and I don't. Well, I guess because I eat healthy for the most part. So I have, you can see them on my blog. I have some recipes I eat these healthy mug muffins I make every day. You make them in a mug. It's made with like ground flax seeds and almond flour and coconut oil and all kinds of stuff that's really good for you. And I've been eating those for the past couple of years, like almost every day, and you
mm,
can make different kinds. And to me, they're great. So I eat that for breakfast. They're so filling. I'm full for hours and hours. For lunch, I always just eat vegetables. Like for the most part, and I love them now, which I used to say I was allergic to them. Old Jill was allergic to vegetables and exercise, but I love them now. And like every day I make a new creation. And for me, it's a creative process because they look so beautiful, the colors and the tastes are always different. And, I mix different things together. And so, you know, between the breakfast and lunch, which are so healthy, then for dinner, I don't really care. I'll eat whatever. We go out most of the time for dinner, and
mm.
sometimes I eat healthy, sometimes I don't. But I figure I've got all those vitamins in me from earlier in the day, so I can eat whatever I want. And I actually eat more desserts now than I ever did. When I was overweight, I never ate desserts, but now I know my body can handle it because I'm exercising and I'm eating all the good stuff. A dessert a few times a week
Mm.
doesn't have any effect on me, which is which is cool. But yeah, so for me, it's just, I always thought of it as a lifestyle change even when I first started losing the weight, like right from the beginning, I wasn't on a diet. I never said those words. I refused to say those words because I hated those words. And I didn't want it to be that, because I see so many people, that's what they do. They just go on a diet, they lose some weight for an event or for whatever, but they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're not deciding, I just want to be healthy. And so then as soon as their event is over, they gain it back up. And actually part of the reason why I did do it too is my oldest daughter was getting married, like maybe the next year. So that was part of my motivation. I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if by that time, I had lost this weight? That would be cool. And so that was a little bit of the motivation. But it wasn't like, okay, wedding's done now, yay, I'm going to eat like a pig now. But it's easy to maintain when it's just your life. It's not, and it's good. Like, I mean, there's just too many processed foods in the world and stuff that there's our food supply these days is just not even real food anymore,
Yeah. And Jill, you mentioned your daughter's wedding, right? And when we had our Skype conversation, you were telling me how the relationship with your children, husband, and your mom, and I guess all the other relationships have transformed due to this understanding we are pointing to. Would you like to tell us a couple of stories where did you notice the most evident change?
Yeah, it hasn't. And those are my hardest relationships. My mother is my hardest. One of my daughters is my hardest, and my husband. But I've seen the most change with my husband. My relationship with my husband, more so than my kids, because they're not around as much. But it's been interesting with my husband, because it has been. I mean, the people closest to you are the hard ones, and so you could see, like, I could see how he was, how his thinking was creating his reality kind of thing before I could see it in me, which happens a lot to people when we get this understanding a little bit. You're like, well, he definitely needs to learn this. It would really help him a lot. But I'm good. I don't need it. But I could really see it in him. But and I went to the 3PGC conference last year in Minnesota, and I went to all the relationship sessions thinking, all right, I've been married 32 years, so it's
Wow.
It's been a long time. So I went to all those sessions, and basically they were all saying, well, if you just have compassion for the other person, and when they're in a bad mood, just have compassion for them and everything will be all right. And I'm like, how do you do that? And and I got home from that conference, and I swear to God, like, I walk in the door and somehow my husband hits me with some like 20-year-old argument that, like, I don't even remember what it was now, but that's what it felt like. It was like the moment I came home, like the great feeling I had from the conference, like gone like that. And I'm like, compassion, have compassion. that didn't work, and it was, and so I just didn't get it. But over time, I was able to see that more. Like, what I found was what they meant, I guess, or what I found that what they meant by the compassion part is sort of seeing that everyone's doing the best they can with what they know at the time. And what I've seen is most people are really just little kids inside, especially men. but I think all of us. I think all of us. But I can see that, and I don't mean it in a condescending way, but I could see with my husband that and really all we want is like to be loved. We're just all looking for love, and if we feel like we're not being loved, then that's when we act out just like kids. And so I started to see that more and more with my husband, that that's all he's looking for is love, and the same with me. That's all I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
is love. And when you start to feel disconnected from a person, you start to feel that they don't love you, you know, because you're just not like talking to each other much or whatever's going on. And I was able to see that more, and because of that, I think I was able to show more love, and which I guess the compassion is what, you know, I didn't even know what love meant or compassion. Here, you know, I've grown woman, married 30 whatever years, don't even know what love is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I experienced it with my kids when they were, especially when they were little. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
have this unconditional love, and I loved my husband, you know, when we first met, especially. But that it was more. I really, looking back on it, we had I would call it like a addictive, you know, a needy, you know, you just need each other for whatever reason. You know,
Uh-huh.
I needed him to make me feel better because I had a lot of anxiety, which I didn't know about. And
Uh-huh.
so we had this like codependent relationship, but is that really love, you know? And so
Mm.
I started to explore what love means more and
Mm-hmm.
more through this understanding and through other things that I've been reading and learning about. And you know, I have had some times where my heart's just had that like breaking open thing, and it's interesting because it happens after like a bad argument or something like that,
Mm.
when you're I've had, you know, we'd have a stupid argument over nothing, and we, you know, we don't argue a lot, but it's like every 3 months you have to have that one
Also,
that
is it
quarterly
is in the
argument.
calendar? I was like, oh, babes, it's today.
It is.
Let's do
It's
a thing.
literally like that. After a certain amount of time, it's like, okay, here we go again. You know, same goddamn thing. But after one of those times, like the next day, I was like, you know, my head was all filled with thoughts and mad, and why did he do that? And that's it. I'm sick of this crap. And you know, that's it. But we're done. You know, all this stuff going on in my head, like usual, the same crap every time. And then I got an email from something, I don't even know what it was from, some list I was on, and it was something from the Course in Miracles, talking about love
Mm.
and compassion. And it said, it was something I think from Marianne Williamson, and it said something like, you know, if if I treat you like a jerk, and you think, if you think I'm a jerk, then I'm going to just keep acting more like a jerk. And like, I'm
Mm.
reading this whole thing, it was much more than that. But it like, so was my situation at the time. Every word of it totally like applied to what I was thinking. And suddenly, like, my heart just, I started, tears were coming from my eyes, and my
Mm.
heart just like opened up, and I like saw my husband in a different way. I just, all I felt was like this compassion. He, you know, he was already at work, but I just felt this compassion and love, that like real love and compassion that I'd never had felt or known before.
And that's so interesting from still from the Course in Miracles also. I'm under the impression that it's written that a miracle is a change in perception. So in that moment where you see someone else differently, naturally you experience them differently, because your experience of other people is coming from the inside anyway, is thought generated. And so just to clear things up, some people that from our listeners or audience, they may be thinking, oh, okay, so number one, do I need to do compassion, right? And number two, how do I do compassion if we are in a very heated discussion? And number three, how can I see this differently? And it's not so much that you are attempting to get a positive thought in order to affect other person, because that is not the way it works. It's all the way you experience your reality is via thoughts. So if you are having different thoughts, you'll experience a different feeling. It's all, well, they are actually two sides of the same coin. Would you like to expand on that for us, please, Jill?
That's, yeah, that's so true. That I believe is what they mean by the miracle, which I didn't really know before. I mean, it has to do with sort of forgiveness, but it's, you don't, there's nothing to forgive at that point. And it's a change. My head was crazy, like the snow globe, totally filled up, and in
Hmm.
an instant it was clear, and I had no thought, none of the crazy thoughts. It was totally cleared up, and yeah, it was a miracle. And it's not a doing at all.
Hmm.
It's not a doing. I couldn't have made it happen. It just was fortuitous that that email had come at that time for me, and maybe something else would have done it. I don't know, but yeah, it's nothing you can do, but you see the situation differently, and it's so interesting that it's those bad times, if you want to label them bad, but those hard times, bad times, crazy times, those are where we learn. And that's why I say that those three people in my life are my greatest learning experiences, because they're my most difficult relationships. That's where your best friend or whatever, who you always have great times with. Yeah, that's great, but those aren't going to probably be your learning experiences. It's when you have these difficult times that you get past. And unfortunately, so many people, someone does something to them, or they believe that something's been done to them, and that's it. They, well, I don't want to be hanging around that person anymore because they make me feel bad. Instead of thinking, well, maybe that person's having a bad day, and maybe there's a reason why they acted out, or maybe they didn't act out and I was having a bad day, and so I thought they were having a bad day in my head, and I imagined this whole scenario that they were mean to me. They don't even know that I think they were mean to me, and I see that so much. I wrote at one of my blog posts is about that. You're creating your own suffering. That's how we create it. We think someone's done something to us. The other person may or may not even know.
And yeah, it's one of the things that came to mind is that everyone is always doing the best they can with their current level of understanding. So that resonates with me. With family can be a very tricky one. One of the things that I've seen for myself when I came across this understanding, and it was facilitated by Jamie Smart, is that I used to have a very difficult relationship with my mom. And after having a conversation with him, and he was pointing the conversation to the inside out understanding of nature, how life works. And after that, yeah, the relationship with my mom changed. And naturally, it wasn't just with my mom. The relationship with people with my business associates changed. Relationship with people that I know, all of that changed. And yeah, it just, I experienced things differently. And I can think of a person that still is the sort of person that was like, okay, I don't want to see you again. Pause. When I see you, like, pause, don't talk to me. But I'm becoming, number one, I'm becoming more aware where they think their feeling is coming from. And I'm also becoming more aware where I think my feeling is coming from. And sometimes that is the best thing, is your wisdom telling you, just pause. Maybe it's a good time not to see each other for the time being, until you see this differently.
Yeah. And that, I think, during the time when you might be having an argument or something, that's hard. That's not necessarily going to be the time when you're going to be able to have that compassion. And maybe someday, that can happen, because I feel like that's a possibility, because how can someone be a jerk to someone who's total love? Like, if you could somehow be so present, and I think this is what Eckhart Tolle says too, and I don't know how possible it would be, but if in the middle of somebody like yelling at you, you could somehow be so present, how could they keep yelling at you?
Yeah.
I think that's possible. I actually
I've
experienced
got a
that.
story about that. Carry on. I'll tell
I was
afterwards.
going to, because I also listened to a man named Matt Kahn, who talks about love a lot as well. And I listened to one of his things about breathing. He says your breath is like your consciousness, or something like that. And so if you're in a situation that's not good, and you start breathing deeper and slower, that you somehow bring that other person up to your level of higher vibration. And I did actually, I happened to listen to that right like the day before something, another little argument with my husband, and I was doing that. Like, I remembered to do it, and that actually was a doing. But it does bring you more, for me, it brought me more presence, and it did seem to actually calm him down to a certain extent. It was interesting. It was really interesting. What's your story?
My story. My story has to do with anger. Actually, I remember that I was in in a live event once, and one of the things that happens, well, I could say it happens to me, but I love having fun. So most of the time I'm enjoying my life and I smile a lot, right? And that is one of the things that many people tell me they feel really attracted to me, is because I smile a lot. And it's not something that I'm doing to become attractive to people. I'm smiling because I enjoy my life. Anyway, so one of these events, um, these one of the participants comes to me and say, "Oh, Clésia, could I have a word with you for a moment?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, fine." I'm not saying any names just in case someone wants to find him. But I said, "Yes, of course. What's going on?" And he said, and look at me and say, in the eye. He said, "Every single time that I look at you and I see you smiling, I feel myself getting angrier and angrier and angrier. What do you make of that?" And I was feeling very peaceful at that time. And I came from that place of, yeah, I guess my wisdom spoke in the moment. And I said, well, the fact that you're feeling angrier and angrier, it's a good thing. And he was surprised about my reaction. Oh, I was like, yeah, sure, because usually below someone that feels really angry, it's when someone is really depressed. And below depressed is when people are feeling so bad that they don't want to be in the planet anymore. So the fact that you're feeling anger right now tells me that your energy is going up. How do you make of that? How do you feel now? And it was like, oh yeah, I'm starting to feel like this warmth coming to my chest, and yeah, it's expanding, and I'm feeling this sense of love. He was like, yeah, cool, stay with that, stay with that. And then we exchanged a few more words, and we said namaste, and we parted ways. But it's and that situation could have gone in 1 million directions now that I look back. But in that moment, I was so present that my wisdom spoke, and I guess my wisdom touched into his wisdom also, and he saw something different. And it's not that I was attempting to change him in any way, shape, or form, because I recognized that he was living a misunderstanding. I cannot make anyone feel feelings, right? Because people are always feeling their own feelings, or they're thinking moment to moment to moment to moment. So it was a misunderstanding. But be aware of that. Naturally, if someone is in a if they are in danger physically, I would say get out, protect yourself, because your body can be hurt, but who you really are cannot. So yeah, that's my story.
That's so cool because, you could have been defensive. Somebody says that to you, the first reaction for most people would be to be defensive, and that would have been gone a whole other way. But it's interesting what you were saying about how you smile and people are attracted to that just because you're obviously an open person. It's interesting because most of my life nobody talked to me because I was very shy, very anxious, and apparently very closed off, which I didn't know, but I must have, not looked people in the eye, not
Mm.
been people used to always say smile to me, like strangers, smile, and I'd be like, I said it in my head, I didn't say it to them. But but I've noticed since New Jill has been about that, like suddenly people talk to me, strangers talk to me. I mean, I was perfectly happy with nobody talking to me before because I didn't want them to talk to me. Um, I was fine with that, but it's really interesting the difference. Like I obviously must have a different look or vibration or whatever it is about me, but and it's been fun because now I'm having all sorts of conversations at the supermarket or wherever that I never would have had before because I was too closed and scared and
Mm.
everything else, which is really interesting that just because I knew my oldest daughter, she anywhere she goes, she just makes friends. People just start talking to her and stuff, and I'm like, that's weird. Nobody ever talks to me. Interesting.
It is. It is. It's very interesting when we are open. The sort of yeah, people want to. Most of the time, as you said, like little kids, right? We want to feel loved. And if you see two kids playing, they don't know each other. They don't even need to speak the same language. It's less. yeah, you throw a toy, they are playing, and that's it. Like the actually words is the less important, the least important part of it, isn't it? It's a feeling, it's a vibe. Yeah, let's play together. And a lot of life is like that, is playing, and we find playmates, and some of them is really enjoyable and some of them is not. And yeah, I if I'm not having fun, I move on. Simple as
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because that's what I always gravitated towards children. Like I would go to like a party or something when, at someone's house and they'd have kids, and the adults would be so boring to me.
that.
I'd be, they talk about medical issues or politics or just stuff that I didn't care. And the kids would be out having fun. So I'd always be sitting playing with the kids. I'd much rather play with the kids than the adults, because I was just much more comfortable with them, because I guess because of that, like what you're saying, they're just
Yeah.
more open and honest, and they don't have all the stuff going on, and that stuff always made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. And even in terms of kids and adults, if you enjoy being with kids and you are in touch with what some people call the inner child, but I would say the wisdom, the realm when you're not having any thoughts about it, they embrace you straight away and they treat you just like a big kid. It was like, hey, do you want to play? Um, I've got two nephews, but the oldest is 13 years old now. And I remember one of the times when I went back to Portugal, is where I'm from originally. When he saw me, was like, Auntie Clésia, miss you so much. That was the first part. And then second part, wanna play? He was like, okay, let's play.
Yeah, I still love to play with kids. It's yeah. And the best part is like winning them over, because sometimes like little shy kids or something, they're shy, but somehow they can sense it with me that I'm just another kid, and they and
Hmm.
they and they warm up pretty quickly usually to me.
Yes, yes. And if for some people that may be thinking, oh, play, for God's sake, ladies, you are so immature. Have you heard of a gentleman called Carl Jung?
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung, yes. For people who know about Carl Jung, he was a very smart guy, and he used to play as well. He used to cut off time for play. So if a very smart guy did it, why wouldn't you do it? I was like, yeah.
I think it's the key to life. I think life is a game.
Hmm.
Life is a game, and so we're here to play it. So it might as well be fun, right? You can play it. You can make it hard. You can play the hard levels if you like,
Hmm.
or you can have fun and play. You want some challenges or be boring, but
Hmm.
it's a game, and so it should be fun for the most part. I mean, things are going to happen and
Mm.
stuff, but you're the more fun you have, the more graceful and easy the hard parts can be for you
Yes.
too.
Yes, absolutely. You're more in touch with your natural resilience, your innate resilience, and you move on a lot quicker. And yeah, there is less, I guess, less attachment to the outcome. Now, I was just remembering, this Monday gone, I deliver a speech at the Toastmasters, my local Toastmasters. For the people who don't know, they are a public speaking club. And I was telling, the title of my speech was Stress Less, Create More. And basically I was giving them an account of the principles behind womanhood from the inside out in a public speaking setting. And one of the things, well, I received great feedback in terms of I was confident, I was clear, I was very poised, very professional, but they would like some more tips and techniques. And I was thinking, I was like, well, we really not talking about tips and techniques, what we're talking about or pointing to is way bigger than that. So if I were to put you in a spot, and for people that would say, okay, we know that there is no doing, is an understanding, but is there anything that we would leave to people to make them more aware of what they are experiencing in the sense of thought, feeling, being together?
Yeah, I mean that really is the hard part with all this. In fact, I'm doing a talk tonight on anxiety, and
Hmm.
I know I'm going to get the same questions, and I'm actually a little anxious. And I know I'll be a little anxious while I'm there as well, but I don't care. That's the difference. But yeah, I actually, the one thing that I tell people that I know helped me, and so it doesn't mean it will help everybody, but But the thing I found that really put me on the fast track, let's say, to understanding this stuff more, is to start observing my thoughts. Because we don't realize how many thoughts we have in our heads, and it's layers and layers and layers of thoughts. Most people with a busy mind who've never, who don't know much of this stuff. When I first realized that, I was in my yoga class, and at the end you lay down for the shavasana, and for maybe 2 or 3 minutes or something, and I was like, oh my God, my head was just, and it was layers. I was like, what am I going to have for lunch when I get home? And then stop thinking about lunch, and you're having this whole conversation in your head. And so I decided to start noticing that just in everyday life, and realizing how many thoughts I had. And what I found is thoughts are kind of like cockroaches. You shine a light on them and they scatter, like they can't stand the light of day. So if you're observing them, you're shining the light on them, and so some of those layers will start to disappear the more you're observing them. And as they disappear, your mind becomes clearer. You don't have all those layers, and that's when the magic happens, because that's when your wisdom can come through. People with all these busy minds, the wisdom is screaming at them, but it's 10 layers down deep. They can't hear it through all the crazy town thoughts, and everybody has those crazy town thoughts. We just think we're the only ones who have them. So really, to me, that's the doing that really, really helps. And it's hard to remember to do it, but the more you do it, just noticing that you had certain thoughts over time can really help your head just clear, and that just leaves space for more learning and more insights, and your life to change. I mean, that's how I've had more epiphanies that have completely changed my life. I used to I was so anxious all the time that I always was looking for things to make me feel better, like we all do. And I didn't. Once I started to see that, wait a minute, that feeling better is always inside me. I was born happy. I have innate well-being deep inside of me. It's there, but for my thoughts, then I don't need to drink to get clearer thoughts. I don't need to have a best friend to have clearer thoughts. It's there anytime I want it, which is like, whoa, I don't need to. And with that, I stopped drinking. I still have a drink. I can drink, but I used to really like to drink, like a lot, because it made me feel better. It made me less anxious. It made me less shy. It made my head seem clearer. It probably wasn't. But when I had this epiphany, I saw that all these addictive things I was doing just to feel better. And wait a minute, I can feel better. I can feel better. It's there. It's inside me already. I mean, it's amazing.
Is once I was speaking with a gentleman very recently, and he said, well, what sometimes people don't realize the misunderstanding. They think they are addicted to external substances, and that could be even food. Overeating is a way. Okay, you've got a busy head, so you start eating. It's what a lot of people call the emotional eating. And what he was saying is that people don't realize that they are addicted to thought. It's nothing to do with the external substances. It's just a misunderstanding where their feelings are coming from. And that is very, very interesting point. So I may be able to bring a guest in the future that deals with that aspect of recovery, addiction recovery from the inside out. So that would be a great theme. And while you were talking, one of the things that occurred to me that is a metaphor that I heard very recently is that if you were to imagine a pond, a muddy pond, and there is nothing you can do to unmuddy the pond, right? Because all the water is kind of brown, depending on the colors of the mud in the middle of the water. However, if you let it be and let it settle, naturally the mud will come to the bottom and the clarity of the water will come to the top. And it's just like your mind works. If you're having all this busy thinking going on, you don't need to do anything to settle it. Just let it be And the natural state is the clarity that it emerges on top. And when we are more in touch with that clarity of mind, then we've got access to more creativity, more energy. We've got more access to compassion. We are able to connect with other people and recognizing the connection with ourselves, with nature, with life, and so on. So, and it comes usually with a very beautiful feeling.
Yeah. And it is there, it is there underneath, but it's so lost, it seems, to so many people,
Mm,
because life is so busy these days, and I think, people just knowing that that is the default state, that clear pond is the default state, that's natural. The
mm,
more people believe that, because it is true,
mhm.
but it's hard for people to see because their minds are so busy, but just if get a glimpse of that, just a few little glimpses, and be like, oh, maybe it is, maybe the settled mind is my natural state.
Mhm.
And it's hard to turn back once you touch it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that is one of the other things that one of our guests, Mahima, she said, don't take our word for it. Experiment it by yourself, try it for yourself. And if you think about it, probably, and I asked this question in one of my workshops, when do you get your more creative ideas, or when do you get your best ideas? And most people never told me is that when they are really trying to find a solution, usually is because when they are walking, when they are having a shower, when they are at the gym. So their mind is not busy because they're doing something else, and then the great ideas pop, right? So it's that natural clarity that emerges.
It
Jill.
always is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when you have I remember having like computer problems or something, you're trying to solve this computer problem, and you sit there for 3 hours, trying everything, nothing works. Go away, have lunch, or whatever, or the next morning, and suddenly, boom, you fix it like that. Just the mind being clear. That happens all the time, and yet we still sit there for hours and hours, trying to figure it out, instead of just going away, come back,
Yeah,
see it with new eyes.
absolutely. Jill, I'm having this conversation, and I'm also aware that we are coming towards the end of our show. So, what would you like to would be a final words you would like to leave with us today?
Um, hmm. I guess just really to remember that happiness is inside you. It's your birthright. You're born happy. Um, it's there even when all kinds of crap's happening outside of you. Um, Remember that it is in there, and remember to have fun. I mean, the more you have fun, the more you'll see that happiness, that natural state, and life really is a game. So don't take it so seriously. Have fun.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful. And how can people find you, Jill?
They can find me at my blog, whatdidyoudo.with jill.com, and you can figure how that name came about. But I write in it regularly, at least one post every other week, and sign up for the newsletter there as well, and
Uh-huh.
you'll be notified when new posts come out.
Okay.
And yeah, that's probably the best place.
And are you also on Facebook?
Yes, facebook.com Jill WH.
Okay, that's beautiful. So for people, if you would like to find me, you can go to www.clesiamens.com, and so that would be www.clesiamendes, or you can find me on Facebook, so that would be facebook.com/Clesia.Mendes. So, Jill, thank you very much for being with us today. It was a pleasure, and I hope we'll see you again next time.
Thank you for having me. It was great fun.
Yeah, me too. Bye bye.
Bye.